There's a language more powerful than speech. It's not taught in schools, it doesn't echo in courtrooms or parlance. It's whispered in glances, hidden in hesitation, and buried in the pause between what's said and what's meant. You don't hear it, you feel it. A pressure in the air, a tilt in the room. The invisible force that makes you nod without knowing why. Most people live under the illusion of free thought. They think they choose, decide, act. But the truth? Their thoughts were rigged before they even arrived. Their beliefs handcrafted, not chosen. Their behavior predicted, triggered, and shaped like clay. And the scariest part? They like it. They defend it. They call it intuition or common sense, while unknowingly playing someone else's game. This is not persuasion. This is not charm. This is domination through perception. A hidden authority that doesn't need a crown or a title. This is dark influence. Quiet, patient, irresistible. Machiavelli didn't preach fear because it's cool. He preached it because it works. But fear isn't just loud. It's surgical. It's precise. True influence isn't shown in your posture, your words, or your presence. It's felt when you leave the room, and people still follow your script without realizing it. If you're looking for self-help, hit pause now. This isn't advice, this is architecture. A blueprint for constructing control, not by force, but by invisible hands pulling visible strings. You want to be untouchable? Then forget being understood. Forget being liked. If you want real power, learn how to disappear from the crime scene and still own the weapon. Because the most dangerous manipulator doesn't raise his voice. He raises questions in your mind, and he never gives you time to answer them. Here's the truth. People don't act logically. They act emotionally, then wrap it in logic to feel smarter. That's where the manipulator begins, at the emotion behind the curtain. He doesn't debate. He studies, watches, learns. Before he speaks, he asks, what makes them sweat? Who do they secretly want to impress? What nightmare keeps them up at night? He doesn't speak to their brain. He whispers directly to their insecurity. And that is how you bypass defense. Not by attacking their walls, but by slipping past them like smoke. This is psychological warfare. The battlefield is subtle, and the weapons are invisible. Your voice, your silence, your timing, your presence, or your absence. Every interaction is an experiment. Every joke, compliment, pause, they all reveal what the other person values and what they fear. And if you listen closely, if you really pay attention, they'll show you exactly how to control them. You don't need everyone. That's inefficient. You just need the right people. The insecure, the eager, the self-righteous. They're already wired for manipulation. They want validation more than they want truth. And once you offer it, you own them. Here's a strategy most overlook. Make yourself small. Dull your shine. Let them underestimate you. It's not weakness, it's camouflage. Because once they lower their guard, you can rewrite their entire internal reality without resistance. You won't be seen as a threat. You'll be seen as a friend, a supporter, a nobody. And that is when the game truly begins. Control doesn't require command. It requires design. You craft decisions so that every path leads to your desired outcome, even when they think they're choosing for themselves. People hate being manipulated, but they love being guided toward what feels like destiny. That's the paradox. The stronger your control, the freer they feel. Start framing your ideas as rewards, not arguments. Don't suggest, present opportunities. Wrap your commands in compliments. Wrap your plans in their fantasies. They'll thank you for the leash as long as it shines like a medal. Manipulators don't dominate by pressure. They dominate by precision. You must be 2 steps ahead, not in action, but in perception. If you want someone to move tomorrow, shape how they see today. Manipulation isn't about reaction, it's about installation. You're not just trying to win a moment. You're trying to construct a framework of beliefs where you're always the answer. So how do you do that? You craft moments that install identity. You don't just influence behavior. You rewrite who they think they are. That's the trick. Don't just convince them to do what you want. Convince them it was their idea. Better yet, convince them it's who they've always been. Let me give you something vivid. Imagine a kingmaker in the crowd. Quiet, smiling, not dressed like royalty. But every time the ruler falters, he's the one offering counsel. Every time chaos erupts, he's the one offering calm. He never takes credit. He never takes the stage. But somehow every decision traces back to him. That's not fiction. That's design. That's dark influence in its purest form. You have to think deeper than most are willing. Ask yourself, what belief would make this person need me? What story could I plant that turns me into the solution to a problem they didn't know they had? You're not selling answers. You're selling meaning. That's why facts rarely change minds, but a well-placed story can change a life. Give people a role to play: hero, victim, savior, rebel. Then show them how that role only makes sense with you in the picture. And the mask? It's essential. A manipulator with no disguise is a threat, but one who wears his enemy's values like clothing? He becomes trusted. Speak their language. Mirror their tone. Pretend to doubt yourself when you're setting the hook. Offer small losses so the victory feels earned. Then when the time comes, close the door behind them. Let's go further. The true manipulator doesn't fight for attention. He starves it. He lets the others speak, explain, overexpose. Meanwhile, he listens. He watches. He waits. Every word they spill is a confession. Every glance, a signal. Every silence, an opportunity. And then, only when the timing is perfect, he speaks. Just enough to tip the scale. Just enough to guide the outcome. Silence isn't just absence. It's pressure. Most people can't handle it. They panic. They fill the void with over-explaining, backtracking, insecurity. That's when their entire strategy unravels. That's when you collect the intel. When you speak, speak sparingly. Make your words rare. Make them cost something. The rarer your voice, the more value people assign to it. They'll start reading between the lines, guessing your intent, arguing over your silences. That's influence. When they chase meaning from the crumbs you drop, while you've already moved on to the next phase. Misdirection is your ally. While they're watching one hand, the other is moving the pieces. Show one plan, but act on another. Let them think they figured you out. Let them believe they know what you want. Then strike from the angle they never prepared for. This is not deception for sport. This is engineering behavior. You create distractions like an architect designs scaffolding, temporary illusions meant to build something far more permanent. And emotion? That's where most people fall. They believe control comes from passion. It doesn't. It comes from detachment. If you react emotionally, you lose perspective. And once you lose perspective, your opponent owns you. A dangerous manipulator feels he just doesn't respond to feelings. He observes them, learns from them, uses them. If you want to dominate, start with emotional silence. When someone offends you, stay still. When they try to provoke you, don't flinch. It's not weakness, it's tactical invisibility. They can't map your mind if they can't see your reactions. They won't know if you're plotting revenge or forgiveness, and that ambiguity is terrifying. Now ask yourself this: how do you win trust so completely that people stop protecting themselves? You give them pieces of vulnerability, not real vulnerability, just the image of it. A story that makes you seem human, a weakness that feels sincere but costs you nothing. You show them cracks in your armor, just enough to make them lower theirs. Then you enter. Let them believe you're unsure. Let them think you're struggling. Let them think they're helping you. Then twist the narrative. Make it seem like they needed you all along. This is how you collapse resistance, not through dominance, but through dependence. You want someone to follow you forever? Don't convince them. Make them believe walking away means losing themselves. Give them identity, purpose, enemies, and wrap it all in your framework. If they question it, they risk questioning who they are. Most won't. This is not persuasion. This is reprogramming. You aren't convincing them to follow a path. You're making them believe it was always their path, and you just help them find it. And when things go wrong, as they always do, you don't panic. You use it. Your failures become performances, orchestrated stumbles that make you relatable, empathetic, safe. When you admit to a mistake, make sure it's the kind that builds trust, not doubt. Remember this: people follow those who reflect them back, only stronger, more certain, more stable. Let them see themselves in you, but better. Let them see their potential reflected in your confidence. Let them feel like you're the final version of who they could be if they just had more discipline, more clarity, more strength. Eventually, they don't just trust you, they idolize you. And what's more dangerous than that? Now you're not influencing behavior, you're authoring identity. You've moved from leader to framework, from man to myth. At this level, you don't need to convince anyone of anything. A look becomes a command. A sigh becomes a signal. People will begin to predict what you would do and do it before you even ask. That's the final phase. Delegated control. When others enforce your vision, not because they're forced, but because they believe it's right. You don't even have to be there. They'll carry your influence into rooms you've never entered. They'll defend your name like it's their own. You've become culture, but let's make this clear. To operate at this level, you must abandon the comfort of emotional loyalty. You don't form bonds, you form leverage. You may elevate someone, teach them, empower them, but the moment they begin to drift from the mission, you cut them loose, quietly, efficiently, without warning. Sentimentality is the enemy of control. Your silence must become a weapon, your absence a warning, and your presence, when it arrives, should shift the atmosphere of the room. This isn't about cruelty, it's about clarity. You're not here to please people. You're here to shape outcomes. And shaping outcomes requires the courage to be misunderstood, the strength to be hated, and the patience to win long after everyone else has left the game. Do not react. Calculate. Do not explain. Design. Do not reveal. Control. And remember this: when they finally see what you've done, it's already too late. You didn't overpower them. You didn't argue with them. You made them rewrite their own thoughts with your fingerprints still on the keys. Now they police themselves. They defend you in rooms you've never entered. They filter information based on what they think you would say. They attack your enemies for you, while you remain silent, smiling. The greatest manipulators never command. They frame. They install beliefs. They manage emotion. They disappear from the equation while leaving behind systems that echo their will. Machiavelli understood all of this. He knew you don't win the power game by standing in the spotlight. You win it by designing the stage, writing the script, and watching others play the roles you cast. You don't ask to lead. You become the lens they see through. So here's your final lesson. When your influence becomes their reality, when your silence speaks louder than their screams, when your fingerprints are everywhere but your name is nowhere, you've won. This isn't manipulation anymore. This is construction. You're no longer reacting to the world. You're rewriting it. And when they finally look around and realize every road leads back to you, every thought has your shape, and every voice echoes something you once said, they'll think it was their idea all along. That's not just power, that's permanence. If this spoke to something inside you, something focused, something silent, something sharp, then you know this isn't for everyone, but it might be for you. Subscribe. Not because we asked, but because now you're seeing the game for what it really is, and it's time to play it better than anyone else. If you've made it this far, you're not just scrolling, you're searching for something deeper. Thanks for trusting me with your mind. If this spoke to you, like the video, hit subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to reclaim their power. Until next time, stay sharp and think deeper.